Hi guys, and welcome to Terminal Velocity. Today I'm going to be doing a Dragon Quest timeline, just like my other video that you might have already seen, but I'm updating it and expanding it to make it better and have more games in it. Before we start it, just remember that I made this timeline, so there might be a few flaws here and there. And be sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. The creator of Erdria, Yggdragon, is challenged by the Shadow Lord Kalasmos and is defeated. This causes the world to go dark. The Yggdragon is assisted by a group of beings called the Watchers, who help the Yggdragon come and defeat Kalasmos. The Yggdragon then creates the Yggdrasil to seal Kalasmos and his evils in. But both the Yggdragon and the Watchers know that the seal will be broken at some point. Around 400 years later, Kalasmos escapes his seal, and the first luminary Erdwin and his party of Drustin, Morkant, and Serenica try to defeat him. Just as Erdwin is about to defeat Kalasmos, Morkant is corrupted by his power and becomes Mordegon. Mordegon then kills Erdwin, and Kalasmos is sealed inside of Erdwin's lantern by Serenica and Drustin. Serenica tried going back in time using Erdwin's Sword of Light, but failed and was turned into the Keeper of Lost Time. About 500 years later, the second luminary, 11, is born in the castle of Dundrasil. After his birth, all of the kingdoms in Erdria have a meeting with their leaders, and they decide to protect the luminary. But then a huge horde of monsters attacks the meeting spot and kill a bunch of the leaders, including the luminary's parents. Or at least that's what they thought. It turns out that King Carnelian of Heliodor was actually possessed by Mordegon and killed the luminary's parents, as well as attempting to kill the luminary, who was sent to a small village called Cobblestone in central Erdria. That's where 11 spends most of his life. And once he comes of age, he goes to Heliodor Castle to talk with the king of Heliodor, Carnelian, who turns out to be possessed by Mordegon and imprisons him, as well as asks one of his soldiers to destroy the town of Cobblestone. 11 then escapes prison and finds a few party members who are willing to help him defeat Mordegon. The party make their way up to Yggdrasil in order to get the Sword of Light, but are stopped by King Carnelian and Hendrik. And King Carnelian is possessed by Mordegon, who attempts to kill all of the heroes, as well as stealing the Sword of Light and causing the entire world to go dark and covered with monsters. Veronica, who is part of the heroes' party, sacrifices herself in order to keep the party alive, but the party is split up around Erdria. The party eventually reunite, and the hero and his party forge a new Sword of Light that they use to go and finally challenge Mordegon. There's a fierce battle between the hero's party and Mordegon, but the hero and his party manage to prevail and defeat Mordegon, restoring light to the world. However, that's not the end of their quest. The hero and his party make their way to the Temple of Lost Time, where the hero decides to go back in time to save Veronica from dying, which causes the first and only canon timeline split. The hero does manage to keep Veronica and the rest of the party from dying in this timeline split, and they defeat Mordegon relatively easily. But Mordegon's disappearance means that the true evil Kalasmos will be able to come back from Erdwin's lantern. After the hero prepares to fight Kalasmos, his party as well as the great flying whale Cetacea go and head to where Kalasmos is and defeat him in battle. After this, 11 gains the title of Erdrick from the Egg Dragon. Although there are 2 timelines now, we're going to follow the timeline that we were just in, where the hero goes back in time, and we're going to continue on the Erdrick timeline. About 250 years after Dragon Quest XI, Dragon Quest III takes place. The next hero, named Arusu, or Erdrick, leaves his hometown and goes on a quest to defeat Baramos, who has attacked the land that he lives in. After traveling to the underworld and defeating Baramos, the hero Erdrick realizes that it's actually the evil lord Izoma who is pulling all of the strings. Erdrick then defeats Zoma, bringing peace to both Erdria and Alefgard. Around 2 centuries later, the descendant of Erdrick goes on a quest to stop the Dragon Lord from defeating all of Alefgard. The descendant of Erdrick wandered around Alefgard, searching for a way to gain passage to the Dragon Lord's castle. Upon reaching the Dragon Lord's castle, the Dragon Lord gave the descendant of Erdrick an option. He could either side with him and take half of the land of Alefgard, or he could die in battle against him. This causes a non-canon timeline split, the hero's timeline, to arise, where if the hero accepts the Dragon Lord's offer, that causes the hero's timeline to happen, and if he declines his offer, then that causes the continuation of the Erdrick timeline. The hero then proceeds to fight the Dragon Lord and manages a victory. After he saved the land of Alefgard, him and Princess Gwadlin go and travel to nearby lands to try to find their own kingdom. The descendant of Erdrick's children split his kingdom into 3 parts called Maidenhall, Cannock, and Moonbrook. Around a century later, the evil priest Hargon attacks and destroys the city of Moonbrook. The only people who survived this attack were the Princess of Moonbrook, who got turned into a dog by Hargon, and a guard who retreated from Moonbrook and told Maidenhall of what had happened. The Prince of Maidenhall goes on a quest to defeat Hargon, but has to find the help of his 2 cousins, the Princess of Moonbrook and the Prince of Cannock, to aid him. After reuniting with his cousins, goes back to Maidenhall and discovers that the people there have turned to Hargon's side, as it seems. But then, they discover that it's actually just an illusion made by Hargon. And they discover that it's actually Hargon's base. And they go and attack Hargon. The heroes then fight and defeat Hargon, but not before he can summon the god of destruction Malroth. And then the Malroth and the heroes fight, and Malroth is defeated, causing Hargon's illusions to go away from the land of Alefgard. Around 5 centuries after this, a boy on an island discovers that there used to be many great continents around where he lived. And he goes on a quest back through time to bring back the continents that once was Alefgard. Auster, the name of the boy from the village who went on a quest, finds many people who are willing to journey with him and join his party. However, Auster's attempts to bring back the old continent of Alefgard is stopped by the evil known as Orgadamor. Auster and his party are able to go and defeat Orgadamor and bring back the old continents again. About 500 years after this, the evil Lord Nelgel attacks the continents and turns the hero Tin, as well as all the other citizens, into monsters. The hero Tin goes on a quest to defeat Nelgel, but first he has to turn back into human form, which he does. Then he gains a party of different monster people who help him on his quest to defeat Nelgel, and eventually they reach Nelgel, challenge him to a battle, and remain victorious. This marks the end of the Erdria timeline so far. So we're going to go back to the end of Dragon Quest I, when the Dragon Lord offered him to own half of the continent. If he says yes to the offer, then the Dragon Lord ends up killing him, and the hero's timeline arises. After the Dragon Lord defeats the descendant of Erdria, then he takes away people's ability to build, which causes civilization to be destroyed, and people to have to scavenge and live off of the land. A builder who was long dead was resurrected by the light goddess in order to teach people how to build and inspire them to make new things. Around 150 years later, the evil Lord Hargon attacks all builders and starts a group called the Children of Hargon that teach that building is evil and destruction is good. However, a builder comes and, with the help of a boy named Malroth, who has lost his memory, goes and fights the Children of Hargon and end up returning people's will to build, as well as going to Hargon, facing him and destroying him. However, Hargon reminds Malroth of his true identity as the god of destruction, and Malroth fights the builder. But however, the builder managed victorious, and Malroth turns back to his old normal self. A few hundred years later, a boy decides he wants to join the monster scouting tournament and goes on a quest to join. However, he's arrested and put in jail because he tried to join without a license. Eventually, he goes on a quest to get all of his necessary stuff and joins his father, who is the leader of a group called the Cell. And eventually, he finds an evil known as Incarnus, and he fights him and manages victorious, and also is able to join the monster scouting tournament. A few years later, a boy with amnesia goes on a quest to find who he is. However, he's chased by a dark lord who calls himself a human hunter and must capture and train monsters on his quest. He eventually defeats the Dark Lord and remembers who he is, as he is the same hero from the original Dragon Quest Monsters Joker. Around 1,000 years later, a royal guard and his friend, who's also a royal guard, notice that the normally peaceful monsters of the city have grown angry and have started attacking the castle. Along with their friends from alternate times, they fight the monsters and attempt to turn them back to normal. They are then met with Lord Velasco, who is working to summon the Dark Dragon and destroy Yggdrasil once and for all. However, with the help of the heroes from alternate times, they are able to defeat Velasco, as well as the Dark Dragon, and restore Yggdrasil. A few hundred years later, a boy wants to become the greatest monster tamer in the land. So he goes on a quest with a few of his friends to become the best tamer. But he is stopped by an evil spirit known as Rigor Mortex, and he eventually goes and defeats Rigor Mortex and becomes one of the best monster tamers. Around 1,000 more years later, a royal guard named Lazarel and his cousin Teresa, who is also a royal guard, go on a quest to defeat a dark evil that has attacked the nearby kingdom. With the help of some other travelers through time that were in the last Dragon Quest Heroes game, as well as a few new faces, they defeat the evil and restore the other kingdom, as well as their own kingdom, back to the light. Also in this timeline, Dragon Quest of the Stars takes place, but it takes place so far after Dragon Quest Heroes 2 that it's almost not even part of it at all. Remember back in Dragon Quest XI, when the hero went back in time to save Veronica, causing a timeline to emerge without a hero or Veronica. That's the Zenithia Timeline. Around 50 years later, Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime happens. This isn't really important to the overall timeline, but it basically follows the quest of a slime. About 250 years later, Dragon Quest IV takes place. This game is split into 5 chapters, each talking about the quests of the 6 different heroes. The last chapter is the true hero of this game, and it starts out with him in his village, and it gets attacked by Psaro the Manslayer. He reunites with the other 5 heroes, and goes on a quest to defeat Psaro. He eventually succeeds after a long and grueling journey, and manages to defeat Psaro, returning peace to the land. Around 300 years later, a young boy named Terry goes on a quest to rescue his sister Tara, who was stolen, and he recruits monsters to help him on his journey to get back his sister. He eventually joins the hero of Dragon Quest VI's party. Around the same time as this, a hero named Rex and 2 people in his party go and fight the evil King Murdoch. However, it turns out that this is just a dream, and Rex wakes up. However, the king of his town tells him to go on a quest to find the crown. However, he finds the party members along his way, and realizes that he must defeat Murdoch by going in between the real world and the dream world. He eventually recruits party members such as Millie and Terry from the Dragon Warrior monster game, and he defeats the evil King Murdoch. About 25 years later, Tara and Kobe, who are siblings, go on a quest to become monster collectors. 200 years later, a young boy who's the hero of Dragon Quest V is born, and his mother dies. Him and his father travel to a different land where he meets Bianca Whitaker, and they go on a quest to find a golden orb. A mysterious man then appears and takes the golden orb from them and tells the young hero to take care of his father. A little while later, his father dies, and the young boy is sold into slavery. However, he escapes 10 years later. He eventually goes on a quest, and along with some of his old friends, tries to find his father, but he finds out that he's actually dead. But his mother is still alive. So he goes on a quest to find his mother and defeat the evil who has stolen it. Later, the hero and his children go on a quest to defeat King Karul, who actually killed his mother. A few years after this, Dragon Quest Wars takes place, but the story of this game isn't very important to the actual timeline. Around 500 years later, Dragon Quest IX takes place. In this game, an angel known as Nine falls from the tree after it's attacked, and the tree is Yggdrasil, and he goes on a quest to find his wings. And however, he is thwarted by the angel known as Corvus. He then finds some party members and attacks Corvus and emerges victorious. A few years after this, Dragon Quest Monsters Super Light happens, but it's not important to the timeline either. Then, Dragon Quest VIII happens, where the king and his daughter are turned into a monster frog thingy and a horse by the evil known as Dalmangus. The hero known as 8 then goes on a quest with some of his party members to go and defeat Dalmangus and turn the king and princess back into humans. He succeeds, and then the king lets him marry his daughter, who 8 had just saved. Around 200 years later, a descendant of 8 named Blade, who is the prince of a kingdom, goes on a quest because the queen of the kingdom is wearing a mask and would never leave her room. It turns out that she had been possessed by the mask. It turns out that Xiphos the Deathbringer was actually behind all of this, and Blade and a few of his friends go and confront Xiphos and bring the queen back to sanity. That's all for my updated Dragon Quest timeline. I hope to update my Dragon Quest timeline every now and then when a new Dragon Quest game comes out. But how did you like my newer version? Did you like it more or less than my last one? Be sure to tell me in the comments below, and if you enjoy my content, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out Lord Rodo's channel, as he uploaded all of the music I used in this. I'll be sure to leave a description below for his channel, as well as during the end cards here. Thanks for watching Terminal Velocity. I hope to see you again soon.